Good evening, viewers. You're watching a very special edition of To The Point this evening. We come to you where in the next hour, history will be etched in 4 words. Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. The Women Reservation Bill will pass the Rajya Sabha as it was passed in the Lok Sabha by a historic, in terms of sheer numbers, 454 against 2 dissenting MPs. So yes, history in the making, but also a big question mark on the timeline of it, still inconclusive. We're going to get you the details coming up, but first up, let me take you through the headlines. Women Reservation Bill set to be passed by the Rajya Sabha. Nadda leads BJP's charge in upper house, lashes out at Congress.
भारत को पहला ओबीसी प्रधानमंत्री भारतीय जनता पार्टी एनडीए ने दिया, यह भी हमको ध्यान रखना।
It is official, all visas in Canada have been suspended as a resolute India hits back at Canada. MEF says Indian diplomats threatened in Canada and High Commission work disrupted. India debunks Trudeau government on Khalistani terrorist Nijar, says zero action taken on India's terror dossier. India calls Canada a safe haven for terrorism. Khalistani extremist Sukhdul shot dead at Canadian residence. Gangster Lawrence Bishnoi claims responsibility. Crackdown on Khalistani terror by NIA. 10 accused in San Francisco. Indian consulate arson identified. NIA seeks info on accused from public. Boeing rolls out big Make in India plans to open the largest facility outside of the US near Bengaluru. Because very soon we are going to take you to all the action inside the Rajya Sabha, the upper house. The bill discussed for 7.5 hours. Very soon it's going to be put to a vote. And in all probability, well, it's a given that it will pass the Rajya Sabha test. What was also historic is that it cleared Lok Sabha with numbers which are astounding. Over 454 members voted in favor of the Women Reservation Bill. Only 2 MPs dissented, and both of them from the AIMIM, Asauddin Owaisi and his other MP, Jalil. But let's take you now to a face-off that we recorded just about 20 minutes ago between 2 women who spoke, very feisty on the floor of the House yesterday. Both Lok Sabha MPs, both, coming together on the fact that they want women reservation. However, both differ on the bill. Listen in. Warm welcome, viewers. You're watching To The Point. I'm Preeti Chaudhary. History has been scripted by the time the show ends, possibly in both houses, Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha. The Women Reservation Bill would be a reality. It's a headlight moment for India. But what lies ahead is a long, protracted journey. Is this history going to be a reality soon, or is this red herring? The opposition calls it a jumla of sorts. The BJP calls it history being scripted in the annals of Indian Parliament history under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. I have 2 women with me, 2 MPs who poured their heart out, spoke vociferously on the floor of the Lok Sabha yesterday. From the BJP, I have Lok Sabha MP Aparajita Sarangi. From the TMC, I have Kakoli Ghosh Dastidar. Both of them, fiery speeches made on the floor of the House in support of the bill. However, both of them do differ on the bill as well. I want to go across to Aparajita Sarangi first because the BJP tabled the bill. Aparajita Sarangi, a headlight moment for India, but so many other questions as well. Reality or red herring, ma'am?
A very good evening. I must say that within few minutes, Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam 2023 would be ready to become an act and it would see the light of the day. So I think 50% of the population of the country would be overjoyed. And I must say at the same time that the men, our counterparts, have also supported us. And yesterday we saw in the Lok Sabha, it was 454:2. So it was overwhelming support for the proposal of Prime Minister Modi. The first day we entered into the new parliament building, Prime Minister Modi, in fact, introduced the bill and made an appeal to all, cutting across party lines, to come forward. And in the interest of the women of the country, he made an appeal to actually get this passed. And yesterday we saw the result. Everyone is entitled to his or her own opinion. Yes, we listen to everybody's opinion, but at the end of the day, we could pass the bill, and today I think it will see the light of the day in Rajya Sabha too. So I think it is a historic moment, and we need to thank Honorable Prime Minister and the entire team for making it possible. For the past 27 years, something which had been pending has been actually translated into reality. The journey started in 96 and now we are in 2023. So it is a historic moment.
You know, there's a lot that one needs to read in, because there's a clause in the bill which says only implemented after delimitation. Now, we are going to see the census take place in 26. Then we are going to see the delimitation. And mind you, something to chew on. It took 2 years for Jammu and Kashmir to complete delimitation. How much will it take, for delimitation to be completed across India? Not just that, the South states will have already raised apprehensions on delimitation. So are we actually going to see light of day where this bill is concerned? At least till 2029, it doesn't look like. Many would suggest not even till 2030. But having said that, there's also talk of a quota within a quota, the demand for OBC, the demand for Muslims to be included in the quota as well. But Kakuli Dastidar, I'm going to bring you in. A fiery speech you made on the floor of the parliament. And I have to say, somewhere down the line, the TMC has put its money where the mouth is, because you've given maximum reservation to women in itself, where it comes down to it. What are your apprehensions? Why do you call it a jumla?
See, right at the onset, there's a lot of controversy regarding the name of the bill. It's actually the 128th amendment of the Indian Constitution bill. But some of the treasury benches, the speakers, while they were speaking, they said this is Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. So we are confused regarding the name, because what goes on the paper tabled is the name of the bill. So how can they, be contradicting themselves? It's a constitutional amendment bill, but here they say it's Nari Shakti Vandan Adhiniyam. So you have to first raise a question at what they are trying to say. Secondly, I agree completely with you when you say that by tying up delimitation with the bill, this appears that it is intentional and it is just a gimmick prior to the forthcoming elections in certain states, followed by the Lok Sabha elections, the general elections. The women of the country are being taken for a ride. This will really not come through in the forthcoming 1 or 2 elections, because first delimitation has to take place and then only the bill will come into effect after it becomes an act today, if it does. And then what I would like to say is that, those states which have been performing very well as far as reproductive health care is concerned, whereas women empowerment is concerned, they would really have no representation. So the person who does well, a student who does the homework well, gets 0 for the exam. That is what is going to happen. Those states which have been having children beyond the stipulated limit, so to say, they have 8-10 children, they will have more population, and representing the increased population, there will be more seats. And like you said, the states in the south, they have been working hard on their numbers, on their health care, on their women's
Population
empowerment.
control and
by
population
population, the women are more empowered, they are more literate. And that is why they don't allow 8 children to come through. But states like towards the north, states like Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, the average might be 4 to 8 children per woman. So the population is much more. Delimitation will give them much more seats, many more seats. So this is unfair. That is what the common woman of India is understanding, that they have not been given justice through this bill.
Well, but the Home Minister did touch upon the fact that the apprehensions of the South State will be taken care of. But important points that Ms. Dastidar has raised, I want to cut across back to Ms. Sarangi. Let's come on the credit wars, ma'am. I think it would be a little abrasive to take full credit. Yes, it's happened under the Prime Minister. He's got the timing right. The numbers we saw in Lok Sabha, 454 and only 2 dissenting MPs, that to be from AIMIM. One understands its history in the making. But let's hark back, ma'am. Let's hark back. 1987, the first committee made by Rajiv Gandhi, top recommendation was women reservation. 96 it came under Gowda. Let's not forget, in 2010, when it passed in Rajya Sabha, Sushma Swaraj came out and hugged Sonia Gandhi because Sonia Gandhi was a proponent of this bill. So it's been a collective effort in the making. Why try and take full credit for it?
So I can only tell you that it's the collective responsibility for the passage of this bill, and this is in the interest of the women of the country. And it is heartening to find that everyone has come forward except 2. All the MPs have come forward to kind of say yes to this bill. But at the same time, I would say that ultimately the person or the government or the institution which translates the idea into reality must get the lion's share of the credit, as simple as that. See, on 12 September 1996, in the 11th Lok Sabha, Devgowda ji was the Prime Minister at that point of time. This bill had come. And thereafter, one after the other, 98, 99, the 12th Lok Sabha, the 13th Lok Sabha, and thereafter, it could not be passed. And again, on 9th March 2010, as you can recollect, if we walked on the memory lane,
yes,
it was passed in the Rajya Sabha and Congress was in the chair. But at the same time, let me tell you very emphatically that at that point of time, it had backed 2/3 majority. And it had been passed in the Rajya Sabha, but Bharatiya Janata Party had come out in full support of the bill. We have always been with the women. But ultimately, there are 2 things, Preeti, which I would like to emphasize. Number 1, political will. Number 2, the ability or rather the capability to build consensus. So I think this government, Prime Minister Modi's government, a very strong government with a very strong leadership, has the capability to build consensus and also has tremendous political will, and that is why we are able to pass. See, ultimately, the passage of the bill is important, and whichever government has been able to do has to take the lion's share of the credit. I underscore, I reiterate. So that is why we are saying that we have to pass the bill. And thereafter, let me come to the 2 other issues. Administrative procedures and processes have to be followed. And we do not want a situation where there are glitches on the ground during implementation. So we have to be very careful. And the government of the country is run with tremendous sense of maturity. Now, as far as census is concerned, as far as delimitation exercise is concerned, why should we think it would take us to 2030? It would be completed maybe by 2029. And I would bring to your knowledge, or rather I would request you to recollect that in 2002, the 84th amendment of the Constitution had taken place, and at that point of time it was very clear that there would be no increase in the seats of the Parliament or the Vidhan Sabhas till 2026. So the delimitation exercise would take place as per the procedure, and census could not take place because of Corona.
I'm going to go back to Ms. Dastidar, but I'm going to raise a question. The fact is the Congress says we had intent, but we didn't have the numbers because our allies didn't come and support us. You had a brute majority. What made you not bring it up in the years earlier, which you could have, ma'am? Number 1. Number 2, there is so much talk of census. COVID is long and gone. Why are we still not holding the census? It's been 2 years the census is due, but I'm going to come back to it. I want to cut across to Ms. Dastidar. Ms. Dastidar, the fact is, whether we like it or not, it's been hanging fire for years. I understand many from your own party, and if you can go back to even the likes of Krishna Bose, have fought vociferously for it. But the fact is that it's happened under this government. He's got the timing right, whether one likes it or not, the Prime Minister.
You see, I'm afraid in a day or 2 down the line, we might hear that the sun shines because of the Bharatiya Janata Party government, or the moon where we landed through the Chandrayaan-3 amidst back-breaking, path-breaking work of the scientists have been possible because of them. That's not true, because the work started much, much earlier. I mean the Pokhran. That was much, much earlier. So if they start taking credit for everything under the sun, it is not true. Every member of the parliament, of both the houses, every citizen of this country, particularly ladies, they have been waiting for the reservation for women. But no political party in the country had the gall to come up and field, nominate women for either Vidhan Sabha or Lok Sabha on their own, without being forced by a bill becoming an act or through the Election Commission's notification, except All India Trinamool Congress. 1996, Mamata Banerjee really fought on the floor of the House to make this happen. It didn't because of certain patriarchs, I don't want to name them.
Socialist parties, ma'am, why not name them? Name and shame sometimes.
It's okay. And then when she saw that the bill could not be passed, and when the Election Commission also didn't give out any notification, she sent nearly 40% women. She nominated 40% women for consecutive 2 terms to the Lok Sabha. And after being elected, we are more than 36% here today. So why the Bharatiya Janata Party didn't nominate so many women? Why the Bharatiya Janata Party doesn't have a single woman chief minister in the country? So this just goes to prove their intent, which is just, trying to, it's like buying extra claps from the common people that we've passed the bill, but when their intent is not true.
And I'm going to take this question to Ms. Sarangi. Ms. Sarangi, Ms. Dasidar has a clear point. The question of you had brute majority, why now? That question will remain. But the second question which she's posed, you have 5 elections coming in, Ms. Sarangi. Put your money where your mouth is. Give 33 representation in tickets that you give to women in Madhya Pradesh, in Chhattisgarh, in Rajasthan, in Telangana, in Mizoram. Why not?
See, here we are talking about the implementation of the bill that would become an act very shortly. Now, we will not be digressing from this concern, my request. And number 2, of course, I would like to say that this government, our government, has both the number and the intent. Had one not been there, we would not have been standing here with so much of confidence and hope and optimism. Now, as far as they are concerned, all these people are concerned, the opposition parties are concerned, they may be having the intent, but they didn't have the numbers. So I think once they did not have the numbers, why did they actually go for it? They knew they would not be able to build the consensus. So it was their failure to build the consensus. And I said, I do not take 100% of the credit. I am saying lion's share of the credit, because ultimately Prime Minister Modi's government is actually translating that into action. Now, as you said, as far as the delimitation exercise is concerned, I would reiterate, I would say again, that the government represented by Honorable Home Minister yesterday was very candid when it said that while actually implementing the recommendations of the Delimitation Commission, it would be taken into account the fact that, the southern states should not be punished for good work that they have done in terms of population control. So we would be taking into account, and at the same time I would say, let it come, let it be implemented. There would be shortcomings.
And when will it be implemented is the problem, because we are waiting for it to be implemented. And one thing, Harsimrat Kaur Badal said it right. Aapne laddu rakh diya hai, ab aap khane nahi de rahe hain.
Definitely by 2029, see, census could not take place because of diverse reasons. Corona was there. We couldn't have done it. This is one. And number 2, delimitation cannot be done before 2026.
Ms. Dasidar, I'll bring you in on this. Now, 2 questions. Number 1, even if it, the demand is implemented now, how can the government implement it now without actually identifying on, the seats which need to be reserved for women without a census? How is it even, or the delimitation exercise, ma'am?
You see, that is the question. COVID has been over for quite a few months now, but the census has not started. That is why it appears to be a jumla, just to entice the woman voter, which is not appreciated. You see, the states which are going into election, why don't they project a lady as a would-be chief minister and going to the election? That would prove their intent. Or why they already don't have a woman chief minister. Or the other, heinous crimes taking place against the women in the country, particularly in Jantar Mantar. You must have covered when our medalist, the gold medalists, the wrestlers were sitting there in dharna in protest of their molestation by a Bharatiya Janata Party leader, an MP. He's still sitting in the house. Why wasn't he punished? The intent, see, the proof of the pudding is in the eating. If the intent is to do good for the women, then that man, I don't want to name him, he should have been suspended. He should have been suspended. So we don't see an intent of this bill seeing the fruit of the day. By 2029, or maybe even later than that, it is just trying to beat the drums and gather the women's vote.
All right, trying to beat the drums, gather the women vote. I have last 5 minutes. Instead of politics, maybe we can also come together, because at least I would reckon both of you will come to, together on the fact that this is a headlight moment for India. The fact that both the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha have been able to come together and pass a bill. It is historic in the sheer strength that it's been able to do so. Aparajita Sarangi, last 5 minutes, ma'am, I'll give you 2 minutes to actually count back in history and maybe give due to all the women who fought the good fight. The likes of Sushma Swaraj from your own party, Geeta Mukherjee from the left, Krishna Bosa, even a Mamta Banerjee or a Sonia Gandhi.
I started my talk with you by saying that it has been a collective responsibility, and I just gave the number 454:2. So I think the Prime Minister today in the morning also thanked everybody cutting across party lines, all the MPs, whether male or female, whether this party or that party, for having passed the bill in the Lok Sabha yesterday, and today also we think it will be passed in the Rajya Sabha. So I think we are thankful to everybody, but at the same time I must say that to every action of Prime Minister Modi, there has to be an equal and opposite negative reaction from these people. They are naysayers, unfortunately, and cynicism is the disease they suffer from. This is a great moment for the women of the country, and I think all of us, instead of finding faults with the Prime Minister Modi's government, should celebrate this moment, should come out openly, and should for once trust Prime Minister Modi's government when it says that by 2029 these two exercises would have been completed. And I must say these are very complicated procedures. See, carrying out census is not a small job. Number two, carrying out the delimitation exercise by the Delimitation Commission is also a very complicated process. So I think we do not want a PIL in the Supreme Court tomorrow. And that was what told by the Honorable Union Law Minister yesterday. So we want absolutely error-free exercise, and that is why it will take time. But we are confident that by 2029, it would be grounded.
Ms. Dastidar, let's just give it the next 10 years. Do you see it seeing the light of day if it passes on both houses today? Because this is historic.
Definitely it is historic, definitely it is welcome, and definitely the truth is it was started much before Bharatiya Janata Party started the effort of bringing it on the floor of the House for discussion, like it happened yesterday, and we are all happy, women are happy. But we doubt whether it will really be implemented. You have to wait. How many years? That is you just now quoted Honorable Member Harsimrat ji when she said the laddu is in front of you, but you don't get to eat it. So you just remember the Ujjwala Yojana. In Ujjwala Yojana, we were told that just because women, they phuko the chula, their chest, lungs and all getting affected, their eyes are getting affected. But what we saw down the line after 1 year, the cylinders were empty, they didn't have money to refill the cylinders, and they were using the stove on which they were putting wood and again using wood and charcoal to cook. So naturally it fell flat on the face, that Ujjwala Yojana. The same thing might happen here. There's a lot of hue and cry, so we don't want to comment now. We will wait. We hope it comes through, because it was our project and it was our leader Mamta Banerjee who's shown the way by fielding nearly 40% women. Let them field the women without the reservation.
I have the last 30 seconds. I just want to ask you, did you like each other's speech yesterday? If you had to pick the best speech, which one would you pick? I'm putting you both on a spot.
I definitely like her speech all the time, because she's very smart. She comes from the administrative side and she's worked very well. Do you know that she is one of the, I'm the other. We both have done the maximum amount of work, whereas MP-led development is concerned.
I didn't know that.
Both of us. We are the top two in the country. As far as
Nari
I'm aware.
Shakti
So yeah, so I always appreciate her.
Admirer of Madam Kakuli. So I think there is absolutely no question of any kind of ill will here. We are both women and we are very happy. And only thing is that, I would just like to mention here that out of 78 women in the Lok Sabha today, 42 women around are from the Bharatiya Janata Party. All things aside, we are very happy that this has come. And Kakuli ji and I both are extremely happy and delighted.
Well, okay with that. I appreciate both of you for taking out the time, and thank you for the speeches that you made yesterday on the floor of the House, because you did it collectively, not just for your parties, but for the women of this country. Appreciate you both for joining us. Thank you. The conversation continues on the other side.